Desmond Tutu, South Africa's Nobel Peace Prize-winning activist for racial justice, has died aged 90. Reverend Tutu is best known for his campaigns against South Africa's apartheid racial segregation system, consistently arguing for non-violent opposition to the government. He also spoke out against the post-apartheid ANC government, poverty, the occupation in the West Bank, and the church's attitude to homosexuality. Mr. Tutu, who was also the retired Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town, had been hospitalised several times since 2015, after being diagnosed with cancer in 1997. World leaders spoke in a series of Christmas messages, mentioning another difficult year fighting COVID-19, grieving for loss of loved ones, and praising soldiers stationed abroad. Desmond Tutu, South Africa's Nobel Peace Prize-winning activist for racial justice, has died aged 90. Reverend Tutu is best known for his campaigns against South Africa's apartheid racial segregation system, consistently arguing for non-violent opposition to the government. He also spoke out against the post-apartheid ANC government, poverty, the occupation in the West Bank, and the church's attitude to homosexuality. Mr. Tutu, who was also the retired Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town, had been hospitalised several times since 2015, after being diagnosed with cancer in 1997. Backed by the central band of the Royal British Legion, Queen Elizabeth II empathised with those mourning loved ones at Christmas, while paying tribute to her late husband, Prince Philip.
Although it's a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. This year especially, I understand why. But for me, in the months since the death of my beloved Philip, I have drawn great comfort from the warmth and affection of the many tributes to his life and work, from around the country, the Commonwealth, and the world.
In Germany, President Frank-Walter Steinmeier used his message to warn against the division of society since the start of the pandemic. He said, "We feel that after 2 years, frustration, irritation, polarization, and unfortunately also ostensible aggressiveness are setting in. It's true that in a democracy we don't all have to agree. But let us not forget that we are one country. We must be able to look at each other in the eye, even after the pandemic."
Hi, Merry Christmas. How are you?
US President and First Lady Joe and Jill Biden thanked US troops abroad in their messages.
But you're the solid steel spine of the nation. You really are. Always vigilant, always ready when duty calls, 365 days a year. And during the holiday season, as we pray for peace and spread joy and glad tidings, we also look for hope toward the possibility of a better year, and to give thanks, to everything, for everything we've gotten to.
Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity held a slightly subdued morning service on Saturday, celebrating the second Christmas under the pandemic. It was led by Patriarch Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the top Catholic clergyman in the Holy Land, and it was attended by hundreds of churchgoers. In pre-pandemic times, thousands of pilgrims and tourists from around the world celebrated in the church and the adjacent Manger Square. After 3 months of spewing lava, the volcano on the island of La Palma has finally been declared inactive. It has destroyed 3,000 buildings, cut off roads and wrecked farms and vineyards. Thankfully, no one was injured or killed. The volcano went quiet on December the 13th, and after 10 days without activity, volcanologists declared it inactive. The scientific and technical rigour and the precedents of the historical eruptions in the Canary Islands made it necessary to establish a period of caution until we could say what I am saying today: the eruption is over. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez called the eruption's end the best Christmas present. The loss of buildings and infrastructure is estimated to have cost more than €900 million. But Sanchez tweeted that the damage would be repaired. The world's most powerful space telescope blasts off into orbit, headed to an outpost 1.5 million kilometres from Earth. The James Webb Space Telescope was taken up by the Ariane 5 rocket from the Kourou Space Centre in French Guiana on Christmas Day. It now has to travel a distance 4 times as far as the Moon, and it will take a month to get there. And after another 5 months, its infrared eyes will be ready to start scanning the cosmos. First, the telescope's enormous mirror and sun shield had to unfurl. They'd been folded origami style into the rocket's cone. Webb will observe a part of space and time never seen before, providing a wealth of amazing views into an era when the very first stars and galaxies formed, over 13.5 billion years ago. The project is a collaboration between the European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency and NASA, who named the telescope after a former director.
British police arrested a man on Saturday after a security breach at Windsor Castle, where the Queen was celebrating Christmas. They said he was carrying an offensive weapon and that he entered the grounds at 8:30 in the morning. The authorities also added that security processes were triggered within moments of the man entering the grounds and that he did not enter any buildings. Members of the royal family have been informed.
In the center of Tbilisi, there is a place where the past has been brought back to life. Old personal belongings are being sold here, and they bring back the memories of Soviet Empire, which lasted for 70 years. There will always be a customer looking for a portrait bust of Stalin, Soviet passports and military decorations. For some, these are just quirky and fashionable collectibles, but for others they bring back horrific memories, which will hopefully never take place again. For some, these symbols represent the joys of young life, when food was plenty and if lucky one could secure a free vacation as well.
There was nothing, no economy. If you wanted to buy anything, you had to go to Moscow and bring it back all the way from there. Some do feel nostalgic about the Soviet times, more or less due to the stability at the time.
We were socially secure, everything was available, ability to travel, high salaries and employment.
On the streets of Tbilisi, here and there, one can still find different examples of Soviet symbols. The infamous hammer and sickle, though for the younger generations these symbols are merely objects of interest. They are too young to remember the realities of Soviet times.
Most importantly, the Soviet Union reminds us that it was a terrorist state, a state which allowed its citizens no free political will, where freedom is out of question and banned.
The Soviet past still influences today's society in many ways. Old views and perceptions of life still shape the life of the young, and this is sad.
In 1991, it was proven that an involuntary bond of 15 states in the Soviet Union was not as unbreakable as once thought. An already disintegrating empire ruined thousands of lives. But 30 years on, the Russian Federation still attempts to control its former colonies and describes those states as a part of its sphere of influence.
Vladimir Putin has stated that the dissolution of the Soviet Union was the biggest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. Now we witness Putin and his Russia attempting to declare the post-Soviet states as a part of Moscow's sphere of influence. They somewhat came to terms with the fact that they lost the Baltics. Those states managed to make it in time and join the European Union and NATO. However, you see the amount of problems present in Georgia and Ukraine.
The empire has taken a toll on people living in the Soviet Union, and the consequences often show themselves in their thoughts and actions even without realization.
The political culture of the Russian Federation, of the other post-Soviet states that emerged as national states from it, continued. And a colleague of mine said very clearly, you can take the Soviet Union out, or you can take Georgia out of the Soviet Union, but not the Soviet Union out of Georgia.
Despite these struggles, the generation which looks forward the West with hope has very clearly expressed its will through the referendum. This generation has firmly confirmed that they shall never give up their statehood and personal freedom.